So you wanna be a Pyromancer? Well, guess what? You can! It's your boy, Gobrins, and today we're talking about how to be a Pyromancer in Dark Souls 3. And we're talking a pure Pyromancer. A pure PvP specialist Pyromancer. I will be covering PvE in a different video, so please stay tuned for that if you're just looking for general PvE advice for using Pyromancy and everything. But this general knowledge for PvP also counts for PvE because I play the game like this myself, and I can promise you it works in both scenarios. But mostly PvP. We'll cover PvE in a different day. But before we do that, I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions. Why 2 Pyromancer flames? Why not? That's one of the reasons. It is purely for fashion's sake. It looks cool, it's awesome. What's more badass than holding 2 Pyromancer flames? Nothing! Second of all, having your Pyromancer flame on the left hand and then on the right hand both do different things. If you have it equipped to the right hand, it does pyro punches, which still deals a reasonable amount of damage if you're looking for last hits, just looking to beat up an enemy, as well as cast from the right. For having a Pyromancer flame on the left, you can use combustion and cast from a different angle, which is also very important. Now you guys can use the parting flame and the regular Pyromancer flame, or you can use 2 Pyromancer flames. I thankfully have access to the DLC, and if you have access to the DLC, get the parting flame. It has its benefits. You get this extra little bit of AoE that's just like right in front of people, and it does a little bit more damage, so it's pretty helpful. But we'll get into that. Why not use a sword in the left hand or the right hand instead, and then have Pyromancer flame in the other hand? Because I don't feel the need to use a sword. You're more than welcome to make a hybrid build with this guy as much as you'd like to. I personally do not care to have a melee weapon. That's just me. I'm just saying. You guys can do whatever you want. Does intelligence and faith actually affect pyro damage? Yes. It does, and it's absolutely necessary. Do you recommend the white hair talisman? Oh my god, no! Never! I made a video actually once upon a time comparing the white hair talisman to a regular Pyromancer flame. I will refer you to that for Pyromancies, but just don't. Just a real quick question, why do you use 2 Pyromancer flames? I mean, it makes no sense on a basic level, just keep one. Shut up! What is the point of a second pyro flame? Stop. Stop. Pardon my ignorance, but is there any benefit to using a flame in each hand? Why don't you wear heavier armor compared to the robes that you're wearing? I want to roll as far as I can all the time because I have no health. If you guys have any other questions, please drop them in the comments and I'll try and get back to you in the comments, but I think I answered most of the questions that I'm asked all the time about Pyromancy. The stats! I went to soul level 120 because that apparently is the current meta for the game for playing PvP, and I want to stay at the meta. And I started as Deprived because Deprived has base stats of level 1 and 10 stat points across all stats when you start. My first guide, I went with the Pyromancer, which you can do as well and get the extra intelligence and faith out of the build. But if you can start as Deprived, if you're a veteran Dark Souls player, do that because you can do so many different things with different types of builds if you start as Deprived. Level 1 with 10 stat points in each stat? Dude! Yes. I left my Vigor at 22 because that seems to be optimal health for me. This is something that people argue with me all the time. You don't have to run with Vigor 22. I just do. I don't care that I have low health. I don't get hit by things. If you learn how to dodge everything and anything, you can have 15 Vigor, which is a thing that I used to do. In comparison to some of the builds I've done in the past, that is like generous. My Attunement's at 40 because I cap out on FP as well as Attunement slots. It is the soft cap for Attunement, and for any type of caster build, I always go straight to 40 because I like options and I like the FP cap. My endurance is at 17 to get my stamina up a little bit. Vitality's at 10 because it is the base stat. Strength and dexterity are both at 15. Strength at 15 so I can use the parting flame. Dexterity at 15 so I can get cap casting speed with the Sage's Ring. Intelligence and faith are both at 40. This is the official soft cap for all casting. Intelligence and faith soft cap at 40. Not 45, not 30, not 35, it's 40. If you want to deal optimal damage, intelligence and faith at 40 for casting things that scale off both. Now the harder cap for both these stats is at 60, but really you don't want to do that. It's just not that great. It gets you like a couple more points of damage and it's really not worth it. The gear! I'm running the Pyromancer's Parting Flame plus 10 because it deals an additional bit of damage with an AoE burst. So as you cast things with a Pyromancer's Parting Flame, it almost leaves a trail right at your hand that deals a slight bit of extra damage. A slight bit being approximately 200 points or so. This is very helpful for things such as Great Combustion, Fire Whip, and if you're casting big fireballs up close, that extra trail of 200 points is very helpful. Parting Flame happens to also deal additional damage with Sacred Flame for no real reason, I don't think. It just kind of does. So, yeah. That's also in the right hand because the Pyromancer's Parting Flame skill doesn't really help in PvP. Only in PvE, which we'll get into in a different video. On the left hand, I have the Pyromancer Flame plus 10, so I can cast things, of course, once again, get different angles in and all that good stuff. And you get combustion. You put the regular Pyromancer flame in the left hand so that you can quickly and efficiently cast combustion. It's very helpful. And punch with the right hand. You can punch the shit out of everything. And the necessary ring setup for this is the Sage Ring, the Great Swamp Ring, and Witch's Ring. Once again, the Great Swamp Ring and the Witch's Ring are stackable, and they allow for more damage with Pyromancy. Very necessary in this build. You wouldn't want to roll with this build without them. Unless you had like some weird hybrid build, you wouldn't want to do that, you know? The Sage Ring is of course for max cap speed. How it works is that it raises your virtual dexterity, which only affects casting, and puts it right at the cap. So if you have 15 dexterity plus the Sage Ring, it gives you the fastest casting speed in the game. If you have the Sage Ring +1 or +2, you can completely put those 5 points somewhere else. But because we're talking about new game, Sage Ring with 15 dexterity is very necessary. And for your fourth ring, it's completely optional, whatever you would like to use. I used to recommend the Fire Clutch ring, but it no longer really affects your PvP damage output. So you want to use something like Red Tearstone ring or Lloyd's Sword ring or Lloyd's Shield ring, whatever you'd like. Those are just some of my recommendations, but you can put anything you'd like in there. As long as you have the Sage Ring, the Great Swamp Ring, and the Witch's Ring, you are set. Aesthetics. I have the Old Sage's Blindfold, the Prayer Robe, Carla's Gloves, and the Conjurator Boots. They don't do anything. They just look cool. As I've said in my old guide, I just like to have that whole like homeless like aesthetic of like a dirty flame caster, you know? It just looks cool. I think it's sweet. Some tips and advice from Gobrins. Oh god, run now. When using Pyromancy, you guys have a ton of utilities to use. On that point I just made, you can switch up your spells as much as you'd like. Pyromancy is awesome because you can switch through so many different spells and adapt against any build. If you want to really test your ability, just keep on playing 1v1s in the arena or just join a fight club and see how you do. You will come across every build at some point. And with every build comes the responsive action Pyromancy to that weapon. If your enemy is aggressive using Twin Blades, you can use things such as Combustion and Great Combustion to keep them at bay, or even Profane Flame if you're confident enough to shoot it at your feet and they explode. Sacred Flame is also really good for hyper-aggressive builds such as Straight Swords, Twin Blades, and so on and so forth. Cast Bed Vestiges is going to be your main damage dealer against all builds, but it's extremely effective against other casters, because while they're casting, you can cast that and you're most likely going to hit them. Works every time. Great Sword builds, you can basically use anything. Greatsword builds are so easy to roll out of, it's insane. It's also very easy to hug a greatsword build. And to hug someone, all you have to do is be confident enough to roll into them as they're swinging their weapon, and then just toss out whatever pyromancy you had loaded up. Now that being said, you should set up your spells for combos and adaptive play against any build, because people will just whip out random weapons. They just pull out some shit and you're like, oh, that's new. Okay, and you have to deal with it. Set up your spells in a way that you're so comfortable you can just flip to whatever you can to counter whatever they're doing. And don't forget that your flaming fists are more than just a catalyst. You can punch people with the right, and then you can cast a little baby fireball explosion from the left. Do that. It works. It's great. And of course, always play smart. You're going to want to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of your enemy at any given time. Playing smart also includes watching your stamina bar, which is something you're going to have to get used to, so that you don't hyperextend and of course die. All in all, it's just good to know your stamina bar and to stay ahead of your enemy at all times. And that is how you play an effective Pyromancer. If you guys have any other questions or anything, please drop them down in the comments. Drop a like for your boy, Gobrins! And I'll be back here with more Dark Souls videos and reviews later on. So as I always say, take it easy, have a general good, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out!